ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Pokemon Legends Arceus Reaction Time.
The podcast.
The podcast, the series, Electric Boogaloo. No, well, it's reaction time, but I know for a fact that all three of us have dedicated significant amounts of time in the last week to playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. So there might be some of that at the end of the video for you long-time listeners if you pay attention that long.
Yes, also there's a link to me playing it like a buffoon over in the corner right now. Wow, look at it. It's right there. You can click on it.
There you go. Amazing, the technology we have these days. Anyway, we're gonna talk some lock-in, and we're gonna see where else life takes us. Because we have thoughts. I will say that Steven and I watched the final together, on Discord collaboratively. So we've had some takes that are going to be rehashed a little bit that we developed at the time, and yeah, so that'll be fun to check back in on. But let's start and talk about the semifinals before we talk about the boys getting the dub, because the semifinals were not close. I don't remember which of us called sweeps and which one, but they were sweeps, and they weren't like did they get a game?
They got one game, and I think it was the first one, which made me really, really yucky. But then we just maybe
somebody tried to talk shit to you, and then it went poorly for you.
Yeah. Oh, it was me. It was me.
Oh yeah, then
I was trying to troll him after they gave Dig their like comfort comp game 1 and got smashed, and so then I started like just trolling in chat, and then they proceeded to lose every other game in that series pretty handedly.
The classic.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think there's much to take away from Dig from this. They got beat by a better team. They weren't really expected to get this far to begin with.
Fake God got super punished by actual counter picks in top lane in that series. Like 100 Thieves tried to counter giving Fake God Renekton, his best champion that's OP in the meta, by like taking Gnar against it, which didn't work. And instead TL like gave up Renekton and then picked specifically like the Graves into it, I believe was Blippo's early counter pick, yes. And destroyed him on that. And then they did some other things, and like Blippo just hard won the map out of top lane, which was a consistent theme in some of these games.
Many of these games, you might say.
Yeah, I hate to see him like run it down a little bit, but it's also like running it down to like get 3 kills or something. So like you take them, but it's like
it's the Blippo.
It is Blippo. It was definitely Blippo things. It was 2 sets of Blippo things.
So, like, I don't really have much from that series because it went how it was supposed to go. Like, that is what it is. And you might say that EG C9 also went how it was supposed to go. Pretty much everybody expected EG to win. They were in better form. They're playing their full team. That was the least competitive best of 5 I've seen in NA in a while. Like, that was which G2 final did they almost do? They did in like 72 minutes or something like that. Do you guys remember which series that was?
It was G2 Origin.
Yeah, like
with upsetting Gyoto. Yeah.
Like, so it was like that kind of feel where it was not just that EG won this game. C9 looked outclassed in every position.
Yeah.
Most problematically, JoJo just shit all over Fudge for all 3 games. And that makes me somewhat concerned for C9 moving into the normal split. Like, if there is a takeaway from this whole tournament, which we can talk about after this is over, I am a little bit concerned about C9 as they get started. Fudge roll swapped. We know this. It's gonna take time for him to get the mid lane specific parts of his mechanics up to snuff with high level mid laners. And JoJo came in like well respected, the next big like hype NA mid laner. What a weird sentence to say. But it wasn't supposed to be this, and it was bad. So, Eric, I'll ask it this way: what is your concern level about C9 going into the regular split?
About the same as it was before the split, in that, like, this still is a team that has 3 different players on it. And I also feel like they trolled pick ban pretty hard this entire series. So it's really hard because of that to actually make a judgment. Like, the big concern is, like, if they have to play this roster for 3 weeks, that would be what my concern would be. Like, if it's another 3 weeks into regular split before Summit and Berserker actually show up, that's a huge problem. And then we're really looking at you know, things falling apart for this split or this season. But I don't have too many concerns. Like, yes, like, Fudge got outclassed. However, they weren't picking or banning around Fudge at all, really, this series. They picked him Lux. They picked him.
He got TF game 1.
He did, yeah. They let him have TF into Yasuo Diana,
yeah,
which is like the absolute. It's absolute shit, is what that is. Because you can't even gold card Yasuo. That's not a thing you can do. Like this pick ban was a tragedy in a lot of ways with how it shaped out in game 1, because they gave up Renekton, Diana, Yasuo, and Jinx. Like, they let through every power pick to EG in game 1, and then got stomped with their nonsense TF Malphite strategy.
Well, and like, it's not that their bans were that bad. Like, so I think they were red side game 1 here.
Yeah, and they banned Caitlyn, Senna, Corki.
Kate, Senna, Corki, which, like, yeah. I can't really argue with any of those.
And then they only got TF from the power picks in this meta. And then, like, they didn't even prioritize a power jungler. They let, with how things worked out, they let the Diana go up, and then they specifically lock the Poppy as, like, a counter pick.
It's really good into their whole comp is the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
right, but like, the Malphite's the issue.
Biased here, but Renekton, Diana, Yasuo, Leona all get fucked by Poppy if the Poppy plays it right.
They just ended up with this, like, super low damage comp with 3 losing lanes, and it's like, you can't justify that. You really can't. Like I understand the mindset of the Poppy counter. I understand the top tank Malphite from Darshan. I understand all these in components, but their team has literally no damage.
And so then game 2, you already touched on the Lux pick.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was assumed I remember it being talked about in the cast that it was assumed it was going to end up bot lane and just kind of be weird there. And then they late lock Thresh. And, like, I hadn't looked closely. The fact Fudge maybe Fudge sold his mythic, but he doesn't have a mythic in this build checker at the end of the game.
Yikers.
So that's interesting.
And then game 3 was the mid Tryndamere, which is, for some reason, like, more like, that's actually a pick. However, it's like mid Tryndamere into Rise, which is tragic. And then they also picked top Akshan, and then it was bot Karthus. So this team comp was designed intentionally to just be weird. It wasn't designed to be a good team comp. It was designed to try weird shit and hope you win. And, like, so it's like, their mindset or mentality going into this series, in my opinion, wasn't like a winning mentality. It was a growth mentality. It was a let's show things off because none of us are on starting rosters mentality. And, like, so, like, I don't take too much away from this. Yes, Fudge looked bad in this series. Fudge looked decent against every mid laner not in semifinals of this tournament. So, like, I don't really draw too much from this yet. I still think the bigger issues is, like, how does the Blabber Fudge core gel with the import slots in this roster?
So the pushback on that is Fudge is meant to be the starting mid laner on a roster that is designed to go to Worlds and has reputation of going to Worlds and needs to be top 3 in NA to go to Worlds.
So I get
but
that.
you're looking at a whole year to develop
like,
Fudge. You're bringing in this like raw talent that's going to get molded, and it's going to take the whole year to do that, though. Like,
so it is like they should be looking to develop. It's just like you got some ways to go, and there are more than 3 teams that look better than your important player right now, which is a problem for your aspirations.
Oh, totally. But like to me, like the main way he fails as a mid laner isn't if he figures out how to play Victor by like halfway through the split. It's does he know how to play mid lane on the map with Blabber, with their import players, and do they actually look like a team? Because like it's not just learning to play the champs; it's learning like what your job is on the map. And he was gifted a lot of like Corki or Victor games early on in the stage where you don't have to know what you're doing. It's pretty basic shit, you know? Like you get package for every dragon fight. They nerfed it. But like, you know, you show up, you press your buttons, and then you do your job. And it's like it's incredibly simple stuff. And so him playing these other picks here, like and getting exposed is good. Like that's what needs to happen. It's just that I don't know how much he gets out of this when he's not playing with a winning top laner.
So,
like,
and the other thing I would like to point out, in terms of raw skill, I don't care how not try hard you're doing. You had 2 different 1v2 double kills against you within a minute in game 2. That's bad. Like, and it was like misplay from Fudge set the table for a lot of what wrong with the Impact 1v2 bot lane. But like your mid and your jungle shouldn't be dying 1v2 to the enemy top lane. Gwen immune jokes here. And like Sven can't walk up and just get bodied by Aphelios 1v2 with his Thresh standing there next to him useless. That can't happen.
and that's why they're not on the starting roster.
Well,
Except for
and
Fudge.
That's kind of the thing. It's like mindset, growth, getting better, all that aside, the fact that Sven's not going to start, all of that aside, you don't see shit like that happen in pro games very much ever. So that was bad.
Do we know, is LS like doing like pick ban coaching at this time, or is it one of the assistant coaches?
Yeah, that game 3 drafts was an LS draft. I've ever seen one.
I don't think he is. However, their backup staff that's in the States is in the church of LS.
At the church.
Yeah, it's like Max Waldo's covering, so it's like it's not. It's basically LS drafting.
You're not getting it straight from the Pope, but you're getting like next tier down.
Hey, interpretations of scripture is a highly debated thing, so you know.
So then, like, we have EG looking just stupid dominant in their series over C9. And then TL drop a game, but really take care of their business, like, against Dig. I don't think a single soul, including the biggest TL fanboy in this podcast, would have called 3-0.
Oh,
in the
easy
final.
call. Easy call. What do you mean?
You're lying, and I can prove it.
Oh, he recorded the call. Oh, no. He's pulling out receipts.
So, what I will say about this series is I think Steven agrees with me. We both thought that this was lost in the draft of game 2. Just pretty immediately in the draft of game 2, which was commented on the cast and commented on elsewhere. Y'all kind of got shit on and then tried to do the salty run back, which the salty run back is never a good idea. It's just not. When it was pretty clear to my eyes, and I think Steven agreed with this, that Tactical's Aphelios was the biggest problem.
Not
to
tactical.
in game or
Hans.
Hansama?
what year is it? Hans. Sorry, Hans. Fucking what year is it? I don't know. Hans Sama's Aphelios was the biggest problem in game 1. So, okay, we're gonna run it back into exactly the same thing into this Aphelios, and oh look, we lose a bunch of fights into the Aphelios again. Whoops.
I think your phrasing
Eric.
is a little weird on this. EG is the one that did the salty run back. They locked Varus into the Aphelios and lost poorly both times hard.
EG chose to do the salty run back after losing, and it's never a good idea. Eric, how did you find that moment and the game 2 setup from game 1?
Well, I like to credit a lot of the series to Wide Blippo,
The widest
where like yes, like we as impartial observers who weren't in the game feel like can like use logic and reason to see that that your Varus counterpick into Aphelios didn't work because the rest of your team comp had no support, so then you had to lock Braum support with your Varus, which is a losing lane when you pick Varus to have a winning lane in the 2v2. Bam. And it's like incredibly obvious as an impartial observer that there's a draft problem even in game number 1 where they needed a way to have engage somewhere else in this comp and then so that they could lock support in bot lane, or that they could have an enchanter bot lane with the Varus to push in the Aphelios, which is where Varus has been winning globally. So like there's very clear strategic problems with how they approached this series. And then the salty run back was because they were so distracted by the fact that Blippo was 1v2 in top lane and eating multiple pressure that they completely missed why their strategy wasn't working. But like you do have to think though somewhat about the fact that like they came into this series with a strategy. Their strategy was get TF, or if you have TF, here's how you play the map with TF, and then here is roughly the core of the team you want to have. It didn't work in game 1. Then they have a problem because if they get TF again passed to them in game number 2, they don't know how to win the game. And it was pretty clear that that's what happened. So it's like even before the series, they had a strategic hole with what to do if they get past TF. So this goes into best of experience, especially at the coaching staff level. Perhaps they should have opted for the side swap. Like every team keeps opting for the same side of the map in these games to try and get the first pick, and then losing with first pick. It might be a good idea to actually opt for the side swap and then play the other side of the map, especially if your strat fails. And teams were very unwilling to do that. They really thought that bot side of the map was the power side, even though data-wise, I don't think it was in any of these series. So like it's very crucial that the way the pick ban as well as like side selection shaked out, they didn't give themselves options really until game 3 to shake things up, and it was a problem.
Okay, just for the record here, Varus into Aphelios globally in top 4 leagues this season is 1-6.
Okay, I've watched the one win.
And it was top eSports, so it doesn't count as real data.
Okay. Yeah. But Varus won lane in EU in some of those games in this matchup, where like you pick it to win lane. You pick it because it's like a power pick. I think it was Unforgiven who played it in EU.
Sem.
Yeah. And it's like it's a strong laner. And there was another EU game of it that I'm totally blanking on. Shit. But the Varus pick is meant to win.
It was also Unforgiven. It was into Jinx. Misfits Headlines.
That one. And the Varus lane was winning lane that game. They won lane hard. And so like you want that to work. That should work as a lane choice. And it's just like this comp wasn't structured with the Varus pick.
Yeah, like the other joke here is the only player in NA to make the Varus work. It's the one you were trying to play that fucking lane into.
Oh, Hans, yeah.
Hans is the only one who's made it work in NA.
It's an EU buff.
So like, I feel okay questioning the pick and locking the pick in a second time with having most of your ADCs available to you. Like, I want to go look at what the bans were in game 2.
Senna, Jinx, and Caitlyn were all banned. So play Jhin. Jhin would have been the other option.
Like,
That's like meta.
Play
And
Jhin, play Ezreal.
They don't. No one
Ezreal's
in
it.
NA plays Jhin. It's blowing my mind. Like I have like such a minimum amount of experience with like LCK and LPL, and I even know like that's the answer. Like it just practice it. I don't get it. Like these long range engage comps.
Well, and like we have Neo the Ezreal picker that's boosting the Ezreal pick rate in NA, but like Ezreal's right there too.
Yeah, Sven and Neo are about the only people that trust that pick. I lean more like to what they were trying to do with the Twisted Fate. So Twisted Fate, Gwen, and Viego. If you have a Jhin in there, that's a different comp. That's a straight up different comp that can actually do what it's supposed to do.
Or like play Ziggs. Like, I think you called that out when we were watching this draft. Like, play Ziggs, do something else.
Yeah, I think Ziggs on just the way they were picking. More so, I think just like they just didn't I think they trusted Jojo Pion too much, and he got gapped hard by Bjergsen. Like Bjergsen Silas into the TF, just used the TF ult more efficiently than the TF could, just based on timing and what he was doing. And that's just like historically not how you use the Silas anyway. You use it to like drop in like right behind the TF, but because the Burger King was like hot and ready, like he was making those initial like plays, and Jojo Pune just I guess got like tilted because I think it was like the first ult.
Jojo played game 2 better than game 1.
Yeah.
First, like he made it work much better because Bjerg was huge in game 1. Like that was
absurd. Yeah,
but then like Danny was at minimum relevant in game 2. The other problem is like the nature of the beast is like you can try to gank bot lane. You have Lulu to fuck your day up if you try to gank bot lane. You can try to gank top lane, and you really need a lot of CC to come with you because Gangplank's just gonna eat an orange and fuck off if you're not gonna if you're just gonna try to gold guard him and run in. Like they made one top lane gank work, which is EG's first kill of the game. I remember, but then like Jojo wasn't able to do anything else on the map other than steal a Baron. Which, that was a good moment. Don't look so mad, bro.
I'm so upsetty. Oh my god.
Pixel perfect smite, 899. It was so
man. Good. Check the footage, get the count on that. God. What?
They ran it back. Like people were trying to figure out if that was the most perfect smite steal ever.
Just by numbers. Be. Someone write that down.
So then so I didn't think the draft made sense. And then like game 3, you have Bjerg bringing out the Zillion, and it just doesn't tend to lose. Like game 3, EG did what I wanted them to do in draft, and TSM was ready for it.
Yeah.
Well,
TSM, that's rude. That is some rude dude behavior.
Bjergsen, I'm gonna do that all year. Deal with it. I looked at Bjergsen.
No, he's Team Liquid. He always has been.
So I kind of disagree because Jojo, speaking of salty runbacks, decides he needs to play Silas in game 3.
Yes.
So that to me looks like a purely player-based decision of he slapped me on this champion, I want to slap them on this champion. And he did okay. However, like the ults you steal with Silas in this game are Xin Zhao ult primarily for like the AoE negation, but like your team actually doesn't do much while you do that. Like they have very limited engage in this comp. It's like Jarvan ults in, and
I mean, if you get the Volibear ult, you can do some fun things with it.
But by the time Volibear's already in to get that, like you got a handful of other problems. Like
so like
a few,
So several times in this game, like the Blippo effect was also strong, where like they output all of their damage and also engage abilities to try and kill Blippo. They kill Blippo once, but they can't kill him the second time, and then they just like hard lose a team fight because there's a Jinx over there. Like there's a lot of issues like structurally with how they played the game in game 3, where like they outputted all their damage into Blippo. Jojo and Danny's map positioning, and especially in team fights, was very suspect in game 3. Like there were several times around Dragon Pit where JoJo was going for flanks and Bjergsen caught him out every single time brutally. It was just very unfortunate.
I did. This was the worst I've seen Danny play in a hot minute. He was not up for this.
Yeah, and a part of it is that like he's this Aphelios that doesn't have like zones of control in the battlefield most of the time because Inspired would die too quickly going in. So like you didn't actually have zones of control for Aphelios, which is what you need to make him thrive.
You can't create space, yeah.
Where you can, well, you create space, but you can also get close enough for the Chakram teamfight guns. And he couldn't get close enough for the teamfight guns really, so he had to like gale force forward in some of these fights to try and get in range to do damage to critical targets. And as soon as he does that, he gets a bomb put on his head and it's over.
Yep.
It was not pleasant to watch like how they approached team fights and then what these champions could do once they ended up in those situations.
What I love to see is that this is the first. No, I'm talking. This is my boys. I am hyped. Like this is the first time I've ever seen that Team Liquid's like predictability is such a great asset because you have to build around Santorin's, Xin Zhao, and Jarvan. You have to consider Bjergsen's like very good pool and what he can do with that. Bwipo, like these are all very known elements, but they're all together, and you can't combat any single one without completely allowing something else into the hands of one of these other really talented players. So it's actually kind of absurd what this super team effect has that I don't think I've personally seen in a super team assembly, as to where like they have such good fear put into the other teams if they get X pick that like it's just so hard to draft around it and then come up with a good strategy that's going to work consistently, because they do have several looks with that. It's insane.
Okay, so firstly, fuck off with your super team. My point that I was going to make before you talked over me is Ayla had a fucking great series.
Yes.
Speaking of like the fifth member of this team that is supposed to be Core JJ, Ayla's Lulu was awesome all series long and deserves a ton of credit for Hans getting as big as he did. I was very, very impressed with his play this series. So I want to make sure that like, let us not forget that when TLO's playing their full five, Ayla's not going to play. But like Ayla won them a turn. Ayla was a big part of them winning this tournament.
Oh yeah, I think he might get
the dab for that.
I think he might get play, honestly. Like if he's worked up enough of a relationship with Hans, I don't know.
And Steven says bench core. You heard it here
I
first.
Would say sell core because that's a good amount of money because he's not.
This man said bench core. This man said bench core. And the TL he said bench core.
I didn't get core in fantasy, so bench him.
So props given to all of Team Liquid. They played an excellent final and an excellent tournament. I am not terribly stressed about EG. I think it was good for JoJo to get one in the face. I don't think it's going to do anything to his ego. I think he's going to be just fine.
His brand equity was not tarnished.
Oh no, because still one of the moments people are going to be talking about the most this weekend is the teleport at the end of Game 3 against C9. I'm going to teleport 200 feet down this lane to finish murdering you as a statement.
And he still has the Baron steal in the team.
Yeah, I am not stressed about my team. They played well. They got to the final. They're better than 100 Thieves. Lol. Lol. Hi, Eric.
We'll see. Inspired in best ofs is still questionable.
Yeah, he didn't look great.
We'll find out. We have to. Well, on that note, y'all fucking doubted Rogue. On this podcast, y'all doubted Rogue last week. Please give respect to 7-0 2-game lead in the LEC Rogue. Having beaten both of their closest competitors.
How did they do it? How could they have possibly done it? Tell
Balrog's really good. So
Balrog's really good.
Yeah. He's definitely the best ganking jungler in the league. and this being a meta that favors ganking junglers really supports them. And then also, like, Larson's had some earlier on before this week, Larson had some really weak laning, but it was carried by the fact that Malrong would show up randomly and snowball one of his lanes, and then you get away with it. And so they've been doing a good job with that, and that's great. And I really credit mainly Malrong and also Odo for being huge so far. People have given a lot of credit to Trimby. I think it's just a really good meta for supports. So we'll see, but yeah, his pathing has been absurd, and then the ganking, the supported has been great. He's also been one of the best team fighters on Jarvan in the league, which is like a weird thing, but like he doesn't die as much, and it's largely due to how he actually plays team fights. It's not like his team is that much more ahead so that he just like lives through it or anything. It's he actually knows how to dodge abilities, when to actually go in, when to activate Gore Drinker, all of these things, which make it so that he creates so much more zone and space in fights, and it's pretty absurd, honestly. Like,
Odoamne is a weak side king, always has been, always will be. Your ADC's real big, and you're playing Ornn into Graves and just vibing.
I'm just here living my best life.
Yep.
Ornn into Graves, or playing Gwen and just eating pressure, because he's done that a few times too. Like, yeah, it's been a good year so far for him again.
It would be wild to see them come up too and just really see the old guard fall in the LEC with Mad Lions and Rogue just ascending.
Fnatic look really good still, even though they got the loss. Like, but yeah. Wonder has started to look exposed a tad for Fnatic, so that'll be interesting. We'll see how well he holds up. He does good with a good team, it turns out. So, like, when Humanoid is winning lane and Upset, Hylissang are winning lane, Wonder still looks good. But when his other lanes suffer because of jungle pressure, he falls apart pretty fast.
Upset and Hilly picking Lucian Nami into comp and Trimby and getting biggity bopped was one of my favorite things this weekend. Yep.
It happened.
Hylissang on Nami is not an ideal situation. I'm gonna throw it out there. Nami is very quick.
Remember how last week everybody was talking about how Hilly was playing well and had such a good KDA? Here, let's fix that. 0-5-1 on Nami.
Yeah.
So with that said, are you concerned about Fnatic after an 0-2 weekend?
No.
Not compared to everyone else.
I have a lot of faith in Yamato Cannon as a coach, so like as far as like tilt or mental, I think they're fine. Wonder's also been here before, that's not a problem. Upset's gone much worse, so like I think they're still in a good spot.
Yeah, the loss to G2 is a little more questionable on face value than losing to Rogue in current days.
But, a bit more, but not too much. Like, G2 actually...
What did you think of the Azir pick? Humanoid's one of the first people to pull out the Azir in this meta that traditionally has some champions that have played with Azir a lot in the Corgi and the Victor.
It seemed fine, and I've seen it be fine in other places too. You have to be really good though, is like my only gripe about the Azir pick, because like there's a lot of damage in this meta. So you can lock the Azir, but you have to be really good with map play and positioning. Rookies played it over in the LPL and has looked good too, with like some sick Baron pit fights. It can be strong, but you have to be able to dodge Corky rockets, step one, or Victor lasers, right? Like, just you can't eat a skill shot. The bar for success on a pick being, yeah, it's good if you just never get hit by a skill shot, is like that's a high. That's a really high floor.
If you're Faker, sure, pick it. Yeah. If you're not, perhaps consider not doing that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like pro players can always play Azir. Should you lock Azir in solo queue? Probably not. Probably never.
I feel like the mid pool is kind of open too for options. Like it wasn't like super pinched down. Like I mean, TF was removed and Corky was removed, but I mean, I feel like you should have more in the bucket than that at that point.
There's been a lot of like pools widening in all lanes, really. Counter picks have mattered a lot in solo lanes now, as well as for bot lane with support picks. So like we're like the meta has gone past the initial solution for how you build teams now and is now broadening out. So like a lot more shit is viable if you're not Cloud9, but like if you assemble your team right, you can make it work. You just have to like understand the nuance of how it actually matches up against the meta nonsense and figure it out from there. Don't give Blippo counterpick 3 games in a row. Things like that.
Or you could. I wouldn't mind if everybody did that all the time. I'd like a free pass to Worlds. Thank you.
I mean, there are worse things. LCK, watch 1t1. Just go watch that set right now. Turn off the podcast and go watch those 3 games.
Goodbye.
That's the good shit right there. 2-1-1, 2-1. They have been the better teams thus far this year, but like, just those are 3 games that are worth your time. And that's all I got. LPL is on Lunar New Year break. They did some. If you go to the Steven could probably link this while I'm talking about it, but the LPL's Twitter account, they did a whole set of traditional Chinese stoneware and like teaware and stuff that was all like fully explained as to why it was made and like given to assorted like talents and teams and players and stuff. That's really, really cool to read through. Just for kind of like the history of the symbols and the stuff that was used on the porcelain. So like in the spirit of like obviously like the league client itself is celebrating Lunar New Year right now. It's interesting to read about how the LPL, which for obvious reasons being in China, celebrates it heavily, what they've done to commemorate it this year and in years past. So that I'd give that a look if you're interested just in some more like culture and history and stuff. It's good stuff. So they're off for I think until Valentine's Day or around there. So no LPL news anytime soon, but it's always a little bit weird for the LPL. They get like 4 series deep and then we're just off for a little bit in spring split. But it's how it works. It's how the calendar works. You guys have anything else you spotted in the world of League of Legends this week that we needed to touch in the pro games?
Nothing too egregious. I do hope that we see the return of the Shamrock skins. Speaking of cultural relevance, too. I need to build
it's
out.
Almost like your name in League of Legends is Ireland. Aw.
You know, like I mean, just like some more green chromas that aren't like exclusive to like fan giveaways.
Switch partner.
Yeah, would be nice. You know, like I do have a theme to commit to. Like, come on.
No,
right?
you're only allowed to play Zon Champions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I could do it.
But not the new one.
But not the new one.
Speaking of which, if we're not talking about any pro games, let's talk about Renata.
Purple?
Renata Glask, the newest champion to League of Legends, who was revealed officially yesterday or today, I want to say. And there's sauce out there about her passive and abilities. There's her teaser video. Eric, what have you seen of the Renata content, and are you intrigued by her playstyle?
It's an interesting take on like Callista and Silas to some extent, but then like with the make the enemies attack each other thing, that's really neat. That seems riddled with bugs, just from my understanding of how coding works. So, and with like when I think about the other champions that her kit is similar to, there are issues. But like it seems hella fun. I'm guessing a support question mark based off of how I understand the interactions. Should be neat to see on the Rift. Renata Senna seems like some real toxic stuff if they ever like let that exist. So we'll see how it goes.
Steven, what have you thought about seeing her stuff?
I need a fact check, but did I catch that she has like a mini chem drag ability or passive or
Yes.
something like that?
It's
That
under
is
W, I believe.
yeah, hilarious and also tragic. We will miss you, Chem Dragon. Probably not coming back anytime soon. But I'm glad that that goes into a champion now. I'd much rather have more unique things in champion kits than in map state. So that works for me. Um, Otherwise than that, like really cool. I hope in the lore wise, she's like the replacement for the one Chem Baron that got cleaved. That would make sense given her like persona, that she would come from a similar background as Snake Boy. I can't remember his name. Jaw McGee.
It smells as though we might be seeing her again once we get some teasers for season 2 of Arcane.
I would say that's a safe bet, but I do like the grab and yeet ability.
The grab and yeet is hilarious. The Q,
yeah. So I think it's cool. I wish the droid model like had a little bit better of a floaty animation. It feels a little like we haven't really improved from the Ori ball like look, but that's like just a nitpick. Otherwise, I think she's very cool. I don't think she needed the droid, or like tone it down a little bit, like how Tarek has those floating elements. But that's really, really nitpicky at this hour.
Eric, were you triggered by all of her abilities being named after business transactions?
No.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Give me the rundown real quick.
So the Q is handshake, the W is bailout, the E is loyalty program, and the R is hostile takeover. And then the passive is
federal funding.
Yeah, something like that. Like, no, I'm trying to control F in Discord. That's not it.
She's clearly a villain, so like her having business abilities isn't upsetting to me. If she was like some like just like, you know, smart business tycoon, totally morally neutral, ambiguous, and she had abilities like synergy, that would be more triggering. Where it's like, read the room, you know.
Right.
Now Renata though probably really should have a brand new skin line, right? Of champ modifications assigned to
her
her
passive
droid,
is leverage,
where every single player can get a custom chroma for the droid, which is unique to them. And you can trace who owns which of these things by using
the blockchain.
Distributed ledger.
The blockchain. It's on the blockchain.
So you have like NFTs for the things. Like that would be totally character lore appropriate, and would be really funny to me.
As long as
Steven, what did you think of the teaser and the design elements? Did you see the teaser website?
No, I did not. I like the.
Let me link it to you. We can do a live react.
Okay, cool. I'll have to do mobile though, because I don't want to make all the screens go all the place. Well, Riot's really good about making better mobile sites than desktop, unless it says this is better experience on desktop. Then you know.
Here, give this a click through.
Going, Discord. It's in the thing. Do. Is it the Renata's ability? Did I click the wrong one?
No, click on Glaska Industries.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Done. Oh, like anything with a custom domain name is good. Ooh, that's really pretty artwork. Glass Industries, private. Okay, click. I can't do anything.
You gotta click on the products and the story.
Oh, I don't think it's on mobile.
Well, that's a shame.
This is so sad.
Anyway, the teaser for this, if you haven't seen this, is it's just a straight up business looking website that's just like full of the full business speak.
Oh yes. Okay. What's the domain? Glass. I just can't open Discord on the computer.
Glassindustries.com.
Industries.com. Okay, perfect. Let's give it a look. It's thinking about going. Okay, our story, oh my God, I've built so many of these websites.
Like, this is why I wanted to
Our
take
luxury
on
line.
this, because I know
Okay,
this
she's
is
a
deeply
perfume
familiar to
thing. It's
you.
a giant perfume bottle. I get it now. This is really funny. Diffusions. This is like the Goop store. This is like an actual like copy paste of Goop. We started with a dream to make Chemtech affordable. I hate it. I hate it so. It's so funny.
My only
The
my
humble
only
This is what I
origins.
wanted, is this right here.
my only complaint about this like our story page is that it's actually too easy to know what their product is.
Yes.
Like these sites now, like, you know, for all this like technology stuff, like you can never tell what they actually do by reading this page, and this is too easy to read.
Yeah, this was too
I can
clear.
tell they sell Chemtech, and clearly that's tied to environmental hazards, which you can, as like, with our origins in Zon, we are committed to improving lives and earning our community's trust. We donated hundreds of breathers to victims of last year's noxious chemical fire. They sell Chemtech. I wonder
Why? They're
if
just
those are connected. You know, like I wonder.
This is
We're sorry. We're
so
sorry.
what this made me think of. This is a sports reference, so bear with me for a little bit. So the Ferrari Formula One team has been traditionally sponsored by Marlboro cigarettes, right? Like forever and ever and ever. So Ferrari's current title sponsor is a company called Mission Winnow. Now, if you ever go to Mission Winnow's website to try and figure out what they do, it is the most circuitous bullshit, like corporate speak thing I've ever seen in my life. And you'll eventually figure out that it's a placeholder thing of Philip Morris Industries, which, as you may know, is just Marlboro. But it's the how can we businessify this to make it look not weird
Where's
and
the
not
nut?
like
Where's the
tobacco.
nut?
So that's what this made me think of, is Mission Winnow. So shout out to Mission Winnow.
That's so funny. I can't believe. So wait, was that a recent? Like, I'm going on a tangent, but I just have to know because like it's been banned for like cigarettes to advertise for a long time.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, no, their logo looks really ugly. It's funny.
Oh, good, lovely.
Makes the cars look bad.
Oh my god, it's Mission, but then like reflected in like
It's
a
reflected.
lake.
So yeah,
It's a change lab for technologies to support the 11 billion people who smoke. Is the description there? So I wonder.
Wow, it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. That's great.
So,
Good
new
on
chroma.
That's your Formula One tie-in for the day.
New skin line. Have just or chroma at least. Have her be in Ferrari colors. It'll be great. You know.
Great.
Yeah.
Speaking of Zon, the TFT mid-set update hit PBE yesterday or today, and both Zeri and Silco have been added to TFT along with a bunch of other stuff for the mid-set update. Eric, have you looked at Silco, and if you have, what do you think about his ability and potential?
I mean, it seems cool. You have to remember though that like in TFT, I basically only play with factions that give me free stuff. So I only will play Yordles or Mercenaries, and everything else is completely irrelevant. Maybe Scrap. Scrap sometimes gives me free stuff.
Scrap
but, like,
does give you free stuff sometimes.
But like other than that, I'm not going to be playing anything. But he does seem like pretty powerful as a 5-star. We'll have to see, you know, how the set shakes out. Like Scholars have seemed pretty good after they nerf everything else.
Yep. And then Zeri, I've already seen one clip of Zeri just deleting an entire board in like a second and a half because she's 5 cost, and if you put a bunch of stuff on her and get her 3 stars somehow, she'll just kind of kill everything.
She's 5-star and she's Debonair, and like the Debonair is like a buff mechanic, kind of replacing Imperial from the earlier set. So like you have an MVP, or sorry, VIP. You have a VIP unit. And if your VIP happens to be good, it's a problem. So
there you go. So yeah, that'll drop in real game in a couple of weeks, as I think will Renata. And there's one other thing I wanted to touch, and I remember what it was. Oh, Zeri. That's actually what it was. So Zeri, I have seen a post that Zeri will be available in LCK this week. This week or this weekend. I'm not sure when their game week turns over. Which will be the first mark of that in the big leagues in the world. I'm not sure if LEC has made a call for this weekend yet, but we're getting to the time where it's going to start being available. The suspicion is that it's just going to be another ban on Red Side, but we'll have to see. I know it's been played several different places, and is pretty flexible, which is always nuts for pro play if you can have something that can flex into multiple things. So we start having the chance to see her icon in the ban list this weekend.
I hope teams figure out how to use her as bait and just like have an absolute clapping answer. Then we don't see her for the rest of the year. That would just be lovely to see.
he's really good into short range comps, so that'll be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, like we'll see. I'm interested to see it. Like we've seen the bit of Vex that we've seen, but it hasn't really stuck at all. We've seen the bit of Akshan that we've seen, but it hasn't really stuck at all. So we'll see if Zeri starts to make an impact on the pro scene this weekend, at least in Korea and maybe elsewhere. We'll see.
I'm actually really triggered that Vex didn't make more of an appearance in the finals here for Lockdown. Now that I'm thinking about it, that would have been nice to see in some situations. I completely forgot that champion existed.
I mean, it hasn't been out for that long. That's the one. A gameplay. We'll do our little gameplay talk this week. Steven, have you been playing the RF?
I played it a little bit, and then we started getting wreckled because we're getting to that sweet time where
you're getting to that sweet spot where you get smacked by people better than you.
Not better. It's just like there's just things that are objectively good in RF, and people just re-roll and dodge until they get it, and it's just not fun. And that's why Riot doesn't let us have nice things. So,
what's your favorite thing you've gotten to play?
Ooh, that would probably be Vigar. I had him for a very brief moment, and it felt so good. That is one of my favorite champions. So it's always great to get him in a place where he can be really strong.
Eric, what's your favorite thing you've gotten to play?
I don't know. I've actually enjoyed a lot of champs so far this RF block. I'm gonna go with I'm definitely gonna go with Cho'Gath though. I really like Rupture spam with Glacial Augment, where it's completely undodgeable. It's fun stuff.
And then chained.
So I remembered to ask this because I got to play Vex in an RF, and it was kind of gross, to be honest. Like, I had a couple of really good outplays with my ult for once, which was very satisfying, and I got really fed by the end of the game we played. There was one weird night, like the first night we played it, where we run like 6 straight, and that doesn't happen in our RF. Most of the games go like the one that Eric and I played before recording this podcast, where we lost in 16 minutes, and I went 1-9-3 on Aurelia. They go a lot more like that a lot of the time. Fantasy. We said we'd do a little bit of fantasy this week, and conveniently, Steven and I are playing each other in the first week.
Excellent.
Doing leak strats. I will say my first concern about this, and given the C9 section that we opened the show with, is Summit is my top laner, and I'm a little worried about that.
Summit who?
I feel good about it for the long run, but I'm concerned about it for the short term.
Yeah, I need to, when are they going to announce if he's playing or not? Because I really want to change my ban if he's not playing, because...
I don't know.
Oh, I feel like I should change it. I'll tell you.
I know, like, you have my impact.
Yes.
So I'm banning that Gwen. Because I saw.
Excellent. I assumed you would.
That's fine. I don't want to see that.
Yeah. Well,
You
I can
have that.
trade you. You actually have nothing that I want, so never mind. I can't. You have to convince someone else to trade me, and I'll trade you.
Yeah, like my big money is in the EG bot lane, which I have both of, which I'm feeling pretty good about.
Good.
But you have Impact and Santorin, which looks like some good high value for you.
Yes, and actually, I hope Blue gives me some points. I feel like if he can pop up, we don't have matchups yet, but I think that'll also affect what I do, as far as pick ban. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping Dig gets some like nice lower teams to start off with, so Blue can give me some farm. I also have Neo, so as long
So
as they get,
you're riding the dig train.
oh yeah, like I think they played extremely well.
Well, I knew so part of the thing with this is we do have a full 10 teams in our league, so we have every player in the LCS on a team. Like my last pick was jungle, so I have Pride Stalker, and so I'm interested to see both if he is in NA or if he's any good, because I haven't watched him play professionally since when he was in the LEC in like 2018, when it wasn't the LEC yet.
Right.
Eric, I'm not looking at your team because I don't play you this week. How do you feel about your roster?
My mid lane is suspect. However, I have Blippo.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that like my top lane just scores twice the points of everyone else in the league, and then I can win off of that. That's my strategy.
That's where I'm at with my bot lane. I need my bot lane to carry me just like it carries my actual team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
So we'll keep you updated on the fantasy league as it develops. So if you're interested in that, we can probably have a post with our teams on there so you can see our strategy. I very clearly targeted the EG bot lane in my draft and said fuck everything else. Although I think I did early pick Summit too, which we'll see if that works out or not. With that said, you want to talk about Pokemon for a
Yeah,
bit?
let's do it. I know you need to get it out of your system.
I've been good. We got a lot of different content from people.
Oh yeah.
So we've all been playing the Arceus. Steven, what are your thoughts? Like
I
just legitimately, what do you think about the game?
I love the controls. I love how it pilots. I love like the grind of it is not nearly as bad as other games. I haven't progressed a ton in the story because I am recording that content. You can watch the content. I guess I'm linking it again, but that playthrough will be up. So I'm taking it's. I'm going a little bit slower because I have to be at my TV to play, and I can't just play in the bathroom like I normally would when I'm hiding from my children. But I'm just having a grand old time. I'm just like, ooh, oh, that's fun. Oh, that's fun. And I can't tell you the last time I was like, oh, that's fun with a Pokemon game. I think it's been probably a decade and a half since I've said that. So like this is a game changer in my opinion. I don't know if I want to go back.
Eric, thoughts?
Um, One of the things that has really impressed me with Game Freak as a studio, especially with these Pokemon games, is how good they are at introducing mechanics or systems in low stakes environments, getting a decent pass on it, and then iterating on that system and then delivering something amazing like within a couple years. Because like the catching mechanics as well as the overworld transit and scene Pokemon, um, while it's kind of in Sword and Shield, it's like really this system from Let's Go Pokemon, the Eevee and Pikachu game, only amped up. And so it's a system that rewards you based on captures, not just battles for experience. Um, it rewards. It has more rewards than Let's Go for capturing different types of Pokemon and then like actually like experimenting or doing other stuff. Yet at the same time, it has some of that same kind of lower strategy. I kind of want to say brainless, but it's not brainless. It's not like that strategic mindset of like how you're approaching the gameplay as much. It's more just play, and it's been great. I've really enjoyed it a lot with that in mind. The battle is completely different than normal Pokemon. You just can't think of it as one of those games. If you start thinking about this like Sword and Shield or like one of those game mechanics, the math is completely different. You can't do it that way.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about it is that the battle system the thing that I'd seen most recently that uses a system similar to this is actually Ruined King.
Yep.
With the different tracks of speed of how fast you could do this, which is an element that it introduces almost immediately, that your attacks can be just normal or strong style or agile style, which have to do with both damage and speed, which is, I think, exactly the same as how Ruined King has it set up.
Correct.
And I know many other games have used elements like that. I was reading a thread earlier today where people compared how some of this feels to how Final Fantasy XII feels in combat, and it has elements of the turn-based Final Fantasy games to which it feels more like with the action tracker. It feels more like Final Fantasy X to me than it does like a Pokemon game half the time, which is not a bad thing. Like, and it is very satisfying. It makes you have to consider how combat works differently. It's still the same system, but for the big boss type encounters that are a part of the game, you have to do math a little bit differently in some ways than you do in normal games. And yeah, the piece of it that I was worried about, which is the exploration side, because I'd heard people be critical throughout its development of like, it's a big open but empty world, which was a common thread of what people were saying. Yo, like, game came out on Friday and it's Wednesday now. And like, I was traveling this weekend, so I didn't seriously play, but I put 20-25 hours into it already. I'm still finding stuff that I haven't seen before in the first zone, and you only are able to traverse more areas as you go deeper into the game, as you unlock more travel choices. I'm going to keep finding things that I don't know are there in the first zone. And like that to me, like, needs more emphasis than it's getting. It's taken me hours and hours and hours of gameplay to look around and find maybe all the things I can find in one of these 5 big areas. There's eventually going to run out of stuff, right? Like, there's a cap to it, as there's kind of a cap to every open world game. But like, I am more than satisfied with the amount of different stuff that's going on in the game, and the different kind of biome feel stuff that's going on, and the different things you can explore. I also appreciate the amount of different work they've put in for animations they've used. I know that there have been complaints that some of the stuff has been reused, which is fine. But like, it feels like the Pokemon that are in the world live in the world. They're taking naps, they're messing around, they're running around, they're using attack animations, just kind of on their own thing, as opposed to just when they are interacted with. And it's like, the graphics aren't that good. Okay, it's still a really good game, and you should play it.
You can tell that the team put a ton of effort into the things they can control. Because like, my commentary on the graphics and stuff like that is like, these Switch native games, like, I can't hear you talking at all.
Oh, I'm mouthing. It's the Switch. Like.
Oh yeah, it's the
like...
Switch. Okay. Yeah. Hey, for people who might just be listening in another window, Steven was mouthing at me, "It's the Switch," and it's like, yeah, because like, the things they can control, they did an immense amount of effort, and they put in an immense amount of effort and did a really good job with. Not just like the depth, but my favorite commentary is one of our friends who was playing the game very specifically was like wondering, how do I switch between targets inside of an encounter if I accidentally aggro multiple things? And it turns out, like, in the UI, it has a little ZL button by the list of enemy Pokemon that you can just click and then swap targets for. And it's just like, so they actually thought about this. They thought about all these questions. Like, they moved how you evolve and how you rename Pokemon so it's more convenient. They have a mass release system for if you happen to fill up all 12 of your pasture fields or
16.
whatever. So that you can release bulk Pokemon at a time, and you can move bulk Pokemon at a time. They added all these mechanics in, which they knew people would want, that are all things you can do regardless of system limitations. So it's very clear that there was an immense amount of work put into the things they can control.
And even on the graphic style, like, it was a good choice for what they did. I actually experimenting with some of like the graphic packs that I've gotten for the channel, and we're doing like a retro CRT film grain over it. It looks like a Japanese like import film from the like early films. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like it's the Sume art like style. Like it's really blown out for that reason, just to have that like line art on paper. It looks like when you like put it in like a brown tone, it looks like an old Japanese like Western film. It's awesome, and that's the look they were going for, clearly in hindsight. So like I think people like graphics, they don't get the stick. They're doing a bit.
It has an identity.
Yeah, they're doing a bit, and it looks really good when you view it through that lens. And so, like, I would love to be really critical if it was bad. It's a really good game, and like, yeah, they did the Breath of the Wild shot, and it's not as impressive, but the game is really deep. Breath of the Wild is actually pretty empty.
It's got the stuff, like, depends on what you want to do. I'd rather do this.
DLC packs, please. When?
No.
Why not?
Give us another one.
No, I don't like that anymore. I'm actually full in. Like, just expand this game. Like, don't feel like you have to re-overhaul.
I don't trust them to not charge another $60 for DLC like they did for Isle of Armor, or however much they could. They overcharged for Isle of Armor on Sword and Shield.
It was 30, I
30.
think.
Which is too much.
Yeah, but the other one was great. And that was another game in its own. So that's my take, is that if you got it, like, if you give us new games worth of stuff and make it DLC, I'm cool with the price, especially if it comes out a lot later. But I just want to see Monster Hunter Rise levels of, like, here's an event, like, it's happening this weekend in the game. I know they're going to do it, and I'm going to be really hypey for that.
I hope so. Well, I don't trust them.
You gotta trust. You gotta trust until they betray you. They just don't give them money.
They have so many times
just
over the years.
Just don't give them the money.
So what we really need is a way for us to show off the Pokemon we catch in game. You know, like, and so you know that when David shares his picture of his shiny Drifloon, that he actually caught the shiny Drifloon without using any mods or cheats or anything. So maybe if every Pokemon you catch ended up turning into some kind of like
Eric,
token.
fuck off.
Man, you NFT bro and us. I love
it. I'm just gonna make the joke before we leave. That at least two of us know how to take screenshots of our Switch and move them to Discord instead of taking a picture of our Switch on our phone like a noob.
I was upstairs. Wait, how do you do it for real? The only way I know is like to push it to Twitter and then download it from Twitter. That's lame. I'm not doing that.
There's literally a button next to share on social that says send to smartphone.
Bull. Oh, I'll have to look at that. That's cool. That wasn't in the tutorial.
Just like, I wanted to shit on you about that on air, so I'm glad I had the opportunity to do so.
Good. No, I'm glad. No more bathroom pics of my feet in there when I'm holding my Switch.
All right. We'll be back next week. There will be games to be played. We'll probably talk more about Pokemon because we gotta do it because it's what we're doing. We'll see what comes up for us to talk about. There's always something to react to. Before we go, Steven, do the plug.
Buy merch at the Funky Store, funky.store. It's a place where you can buy t-shirts. You should also like us on the subscription platforms where you subscribe to things like YouTube and Twitter and Facebook or all those things. It's at Funky Games. It's clean. It's everywhere. It's just like that. Buy our NFTs that don't exist, but Eric is clearly working on and has been shilling for. They're on the blockchain, you know. Buy our metaverse real estate. It's going to be really, really cool, and you can vibe there.
I'll block your chain.
Oh.
This has been Reaction
It is
Time.
close to Valentine's Day. Bye.